Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome to the 2024 celebration of Pride in Attleboro. I am Stephanie Elliot, the chair of the Attleboro Council on Human Rights and a proud member of the LGBTQ+ community. It's easy to forget, with all of the fun and confetti and celebrations, that Pride started out as a rebellion. An uprising against oppressive policies, systems, violence, and prejudice. It started out as a demand to be respected and have our voices heard and our struggles acknowledged. A demand for autonomy and freedom and dignity. And while it is a time for absolute celebration and self-expression and self-acceptance, it is also a time for reflection and for us to remember that we are here today in a city which is raising our flag in recognition of our community because of this fight that continues on. Blood and tears were the first bricks laid in the foundation that was built when previous generations stood up against oppression and said no more. When they put themselves on the line so that they and future community members could have a day like today. They marched, persevered, petitioned, and fought for policy change, anti-discrimination legislation, fair treatment under the law, and for the right to exist without harassment, so they could live openly, freely, unashamed, and unafraid. This work required many people to come together, join forces, and create positive change. And even though many were lost, or their names have been forgotten in history, the work that they did, the contributions they made, no matter how small or how great, has led us to this point. We are here today because of everything that they did for us, and our children will be here tomorrow because of everything that we do today. We have the responsibility to take up that baton, carry on that fight, for it is not over. We must stay vigilant and determined, and even when we're scared, to still stand up and speak up and keep going. But in that vigilance, there is community and camaraderie and laughter and kindness and compassion and acceptance. And so for today, let there be joy and let there be pride. Thank you. Please welcome Mayor Cathleen DeSimone.
Hello, Attleboro. Hello to my LGBTQI+ family and friends. Thank you for being here for the 2024 raising of the Pride flag. On a gorgeous day it is. As we prepare to celebrate again the raising of the Pride flag, I wanted to share with you all a story that occurred last fall after last year's flag raising, when I received a letter in late August from a resident requesting that the city fly a Christian flag for 1 month at City Hall. In his letter, this resident said that because the city had flown, quote, at least one other flag other than the American and POW flag, unquote, for a month earlier in the year, that he and other Christians like him should have the same opportunity, otherwise it would constitute discrimination. When I first read the letter, I reacted as likely most Americans would at the thought of flying a religious flag on government property in violation of the principle of separation of church and state, more specifically the Constitution's Establishment Clause found in the First Amendment. But as I reread the letter and better appreciated the reference to the, quote, other flag flown at City Hall for a month, I started thinking that the request was a bit more complicated than it first appeared. When I saw the resident's name on the letter and remembered that he had been a vocal supporter of the book banning effort, expressing his alleged concerns about students being exposed to pornography in certain books, most of which, of course, as you know, happen to be stories about LGBTQ+I characters or themes. So I saw his request in an entirely new light. Much as the book banning effort was never really about books, his flag-raising request was never about a flag. It wasn't about the Christian flag that he wanted to fly. He wanted the city to stop flying the pride flag, because he and others like him want to deny, diminish, and destroy the existence of LGBTQ+I people. So looking for some information, and after a quick online search, I came across the United States Supreme Court case called Shirtlift v. Boston. Some of you might have heard of it. I had not prior to last fall. It was decided in the spring of 2022. And after reading the case, it became rather clear that as much as I wanted to completely ignore, disregard, and laugh at his request to fly a Christian flag at City Hall, and his thinly veiled attempt to stop the city from flying the pride flag again, it was clear that this matter needed more careful attention. In short, without going into the legal issues involved, I had two options as I saw it. I could deny his request to fly the Christian flag and risk a lawsuit against the city for discrimination, or I could grant his request while assuring that future requests of this kind would not be granted. And of course, I did this all in consultation with the city solicitor, for the record. Although I would never put the city in legal jeopardy, I had no intention of stop flying the pride flag at City Hall, at least not while I'm in that corner office, my friends. So ultimately, my solution was to give him what he asked for, but not what he wanted. So, from 1 to 3 o'clock on a quiet Tuesday afternoon last September, as you may know, we flew a small Christian flag on the same flagpole today we're going to fly the pride flag. There were about 12 people in attendance to watch it who were very like-minded with the individual who made the request and saw our pride as a threat. As soon as the flag came down, I instituted a new flagpole policy under which we will be raising the flagpole yet again today. And as difficult as it was for me to see a religious flag flying on a public flagpole, I rest secure in the knowledge that we will be able to continue raising the pride flag again and again in the city of Attleboro. I tell you this story to remind you of what you likely already know. You already know, and some of you know all too well, that as much as we gather here to celebrate Pride Month, we can never take it for granted, because the attacks against us come from all sides, some obvious and some less so. From people who seek to elevate their own existence and meaning by denying, diminishing, and destroying ours. We must be unwavering in combating these efforts by living out loud, by being our best and most authentic selves, by confronting hate with love, and by uniting, not dividing. And on saying that, friends, I wish you all a happy, healthy, joyful, and peaceful Pride Month. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. Now, please join me in welcoming State Representative Adam Scanlon.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a pleasure. Good to see you. Happy Pride, everyone. Who's excited? That's wonderful. So, I grew up in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, like many of you, and when I was born, we did not have, as a society, the right to marry who we love. But that all changed in 2004 under the Goodrich decision, and ever since that moment, from then on, people could marry who they wanted to marry. And so on and so forth. We continued to break down other barriers as a Commonwealth to ensure that all people have a place here in Massachusetts, to ensure that all people can build a family here. The crises that affect our country right now are around housing and mental health. The greatest thing that we can do as a community to support our LGBTQ+ members in our families and our friends is to say, I'm here for you. If you're going through a hard time, let me know. There are so many people that want to come out right now, but are still, even in 2024, still afraid to do that. Reach out not just with your hands, but with your hearts and an open mind. because the most powerful thing that we can do as a society to fight back against racism and homophobia and systemic inequities is to come out and say, I'm proud to be here and I'm proud to be from Massachusetts. I'm very proud to be in a legislature that has taken great steps to lift up all of our LGBT families and friends, such as making sure that people can have access to PrEP, people who have served in our military, who were dishonorably discharged during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell era, were able to get the bonuses that they rightfully deserve as veterans. And so many other things that we need to, and so many other things that we've done, such as research and funding for the HIV clinics across the state. But today is a reminder that we need to be vigilant. We know that we've always enjoyed these rights in Massachusetts, but just like a couple years ago with the dismantling of Roe v. Wade, we know that anything can happen at any minute, and we need to continue to recognize that that women and anyone should have the ability to make decisions about their own bodies, but also we need to be there to support them as allies. Nothing is done alone. So it's not just up to me and the rest of the LGBT community to fight for these things. We need everyone, and we can do that. So let's keep on advocating for our community and making Attleboro a great place to live. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now please welcome Attleboro Public Schools Superintendent David Sawyer.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Attleboro Public Schools, it is my honor to participate in this year's Pride Flag raising ceremony. I appreciate that Attleboro's Council on Human Rights recognizes the crucial role that our schools play in supporting the city's LGBTQ community. 2 nights ago, I made the case to the graduating class of 2024 that public education is an essential defense against tyranny, that we as a society take up the responsibility of educating our youth because our entire way of life depends on an electorate wise enough not to be lured off the path of democracy, which, with its many flaws, can sometimes feel like a long and arduous ascent. I used the last 6 words of the Pledge of Allegiance, with liberty and justice for all, as the vehicle of my rhetorical appeal, arguing that the essence of our society is freedom. Freedom to be who we are, freedom to live in accordance with our beliefs about the world, and that preserving this freedom requires us to defend it for all among us, not just those who share our views of how things should be done, but because allowing the denial of the rights of others, even when it's a right to something that we do not personally cherish or even disapprove of, such a denial ultimately leads us down the path to authoritarianism, the greatest of evils. My reasoning for choosing this specific message at this particular moment is complex, but I am largely motivated by what I am experiencing in serving as your superintendent. In the last few years, the culture wars in this country have targeted schools as a battleground of preference. And now I find myself embroiled in controversies I thought had already been settled. I was naive. I did not expect that in 2024, I would need to defend the rights of students and employees alike to conduct themselves at school in a manner true to who they are. But I do, quite a bit these days. So my commencement address was a deeply felt plea to all in attendance to fight for the common ground on which our shared existence is built. But if there's cause for hope, it is this. As I meet with people of all stripes to work through our many disagreements, I see a common aspiration among us all. We all want the same thing: to be treated with respect, for our children to be safe, for them to be free to live the way we are trying to set out for them. When we ignore the bad faith narratives that bombard us on social media and instead assume good intentions and engage one another with grace as human beings deserving of dignity, as valued members of a community, the artifices of conflict recede and there are few problems we cannot overcome. My experience suggests that while there is much work ahead of us to forge a better tomorrow, for ourselves, for our children, for future generations, Our forebears left us the blueprint for finding our way by ensuring liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now please welcome State Representative Jim Hawkins.
Thank you to Stephanie and the entire Attleboro Human Rights Commission for their work to make this happen every year. I'm very honored to get to speak here. This is so important to our community and to our way of life. I think about my older brother who could not, whose partner, lifelong partner, worked for the United Nations, and he could never talk about being in a partnership with him. And when his partner died, had no access to anything to do with his health care or anything else. And to think that we've changed since then. But much as the mayor suggested and Superintendent Sawyer suggested, the times are changing. We can't count on these things. The book ban. I had to file a legislation to stop book bans in this state now. So we think that we're all set. We've advanced so far, but there's a very well-funded, very powerful, very organized right-wing agenda to take away some of the things that we've worked so hard for and are so proud of. And I urge you to stay vigilant, make sure you vote, make sure everybody else votes this fall. And if you know me, I never speak for very long, but I got to share one thing. You'll be very happy. Ty Waterman invited me to sing with him, and to make it much nicer for you, I declined his invitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please welcome the Attleboro High School Black Student Alliance representatives, Akeem, Kouassi, and Jordany, Gachette.
Thank you all. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Akeem Kouassi. I am president of Black Student Alliance for Attleboro High School, and I am honored to be here today, and I'm glad to share my thoughts. BSA believes in the inclusivity that our club has to offer, and we advocate for the needs of those who are underrepresented, no matter the race, gender, or background of said person. We empathize and we advocate for those who have faced a history of discrimination and oppression. And we recognize that hatred does not only exist at a certain age or a specific address, but everywhere. And it brings me joy to see that the work we do in the high school is being reciprocated out here, advocating for the rights of others. I will now pass the mic to my peer.
Thank you, Akeem. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jordany Gachette. I'm the voice of the Black Student Alliance. One thing that the Black Student Alliance likes to do is give flowers when they are deserved. The candidates we'd like to give flowers to today are Andrea Jenkins, a poet, historian, and the first African-American openly transgender woman elected to the public office in the United States. The second candidate is Willie Ninja, a dancer, choreographer, and the godfather of voguing. And last but not least, Bayard Rustin. Mr. Rustin was an advocate for both civil rights and gay rights. And in his great words, we need in every community a group of angelic troublemakers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please welcome Joe Ordog with PFLAG.
I'd like to say thank you to all who have brought us together for this flag raising and pride celebration. We should be proud that we continue to celebrate and lift up all members of the LGBTQ communities. There has been a growing movement to turn back the rights of our friends and loved ones in the LGBTQ communities, and we must resist this trend to go backwards. Progress can only be made by including all people in our community life. No exclusions in sports, no exclusions in medical care, no exclusions of books on library shelves because an individual does not like or is made uncomfortable by the contents. Protect our democracy, protect our freedoms, protect our friends and loved ones. We are all members of the community and need to keep each other safe. Please continue to support everyone who joins in those efforts and join us in the Balfour Riverwalk Park for all the folks that are there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now please welcome City Councilor Laurie Sawyer. Sorry.
Hi, you might remember me. When in previous years I was the chair of the Council on Human Rights, where I helped to lead this important, amazing annual ceremony, walk, and vendor fair. Today I have a question for you. You might know the answer. Does anyone remember what happened on May 17th, 2004? Hands? Anybody? Yeah, that's right. Today, it's when marriage equality became legal in Massachusetts. This happened 20 years ago, just last month. 20 years ago, Massachusetts fought hard for same-sex couples to be able to marry. Multiple states followed Massachusetts' lead until June 26, 2015, when marriage was made legal nationally. Marriage has long been established as a fundamental right of all Americans. All should mean all, not just heterosexual Americans. Those in opposition would say that it would bring on the apocalypse, the end of times, and it was said that same-sex marriage would diminish the value of opposite-sex couples' marriages and harm children's growth. One wise woman recently told me to show the facts, so I'm going to tell you some facts. Per a study by the RAND Research Organization, they have found several benefits of same-sex marriage. Marriage for same-sex couples did not cause different-sex couples to retreat from marriage or cohabitation, but in fact caused a modest increase in marriage. It also caused an increase in adoption rates, increased mortgage applications, and enhanced public safety and health. Studies found by the American Association of Marriage and Family Therapy said that children fare just as well as children of heterosexual couples in emotional functioning, behavioral adjustment, learning, and grade point averages, and some even more than that. Adolescents with same-sex parents reported feeling more connected at school, more likely to talk about emotionally difficult topics, and more resilient, compassionate, and tolerant. But when the Supreme Court decided to bring down Roe and nationwide abortion access, Justice Clarence Thomas said that the Supreme Court should reconsider its past rulings on contraception access, same-sex relationships, and same-sex marriage. These rights should never be up for debate or reconsideration. It's extremely important that each of us of voting age goes to the polls this November and votes to support those candidates who support the rights of all LGBTQ people to live their lives fully. And I want to mention that having the annual Pride flag raising in Attleboro is so important to show our residents in the city that they're supported no matter who they are, who they love, or who they're married to. So thank you, Attleboro, for continuing to show your support for Pride and all it stands for.
Thank you so much. Please welcome Marcia Szymanski with Agudas Akeem.
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to say a few words. As a member of the LGBTQ community, I lived in the closet for the first 38 years of my life. When I moved to Boston, I finally felt free to be open about and embrace my sexuality. So imagine my anxiety when I decided to move to the small town of Plainville with my partner, now celebrating 31 years, I might add. Upon moving to Plainville, I joined Congregation Agudas Achim, where my partner was a member. There I found a welcoming community rooted in the Jewish values of Hesed, loving kindness, and B'Tselem Elohim. We are all created in the image of the divine, meaning that everyone reflects the image of the divine, including those who are trans, gay, lesbian, bi, questioning, and so forth. One of our moral directives is Tikkun Olam, repair of the world. And achieving a more perfect world is impossible if we exclude people. Agudas Achim is proud to participate in the Attleboro Pride. It's a tribute to this city that residents elected not one, but 2 mayors, as well as city councilors and other elected officials who are out members of the LGBTQ plus community. Yes. Over the year, Attleboro has welcomed Cambodian and Central American refugees who were fleeing for their lives. Attleboro has supported Congregation Agudas Achim when anti-Semitism raised its head, and the city has welcomed the Greater Attleboro Islamic Center to town. Attleboro is a very special community. And while I have never lived in Attleboro, I have worked, played, and prayed in a city that I truly love. I am honored to be here today to celebrate Pride and to know that Attleboro does have a great future. Happy Pride.
Thank you so much. Please welcome the Reverend Will Sencabaugh with the Second Congregational Church.
Once someone finds out that I'm a pastor, they make assumptions. They either assume that I'm super judgy, which I am, about things, or they think that I share the same beliefs that they do. And if I don't, well, then I very well should share the same beliefs that they do. They rarely make the assumption that I am a progressive minister. Now, I've read the Bible, I've read books about the Bible, but I don't worship the Bible. The writings, oh, you don't have to applaud that, really. You can. But the writings of the Bible that I read point to a God that can be incredibly hard to take at times. But they also point to the absolute extravagant and unconditional love of a God. In the Bible, I read Jesus loves, forgives, heals, and it's never conditional. Never. I want to repeat that. Jesus' love in the Bible is never conditional. And folks, there is some really bad, hurtful theology out there. But there are also faith communities in Attleboro that are loving and are accepting. And I hope that everyone here today finds a place where they can experience that. A church or any faith community should never be a barrier to love. And if it is, then we are doing it wrong, and you should run for the nearest exit. You keep doing that. I'm just going to pause after every line, and we'll never get through this. Any faith community should be a nurturing community that builds one another up. And I am honored to speak to you all today because, one, I love my hometown, Attleboro, and the things that I've said about faith communities, I believe about this city, that we should strive to be a nurturing community that builds one another up. And also, finally, if you haven't heard me say this 2 times before, I want you to pay attention now. Remember, that God loves you, and there's nothing that you can do about it. God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Thank you so much. Please welcome our final speaker, Alex Sawyer with the Attleboro Youth Commission.
Thank you so much for letting me speak for you guys today. I am no longer a member of the Attleboro Youth Commission now because I have just graduated. And as the most recent graduate, I can give you a few rules that I've made up to survive the Attleboro High School. If the water filter light is red, don't drink the water. If one of the special ed kids waves at you, say hi. If you need help, ask. It's okay. It's okay to have a conversation with a teacher so they can help you learn better. No matter someone's position, do not let them disrespect you. If you feel unsafe, tell someone. If you feel like a teacher is treating you unfairly, tell someone. Never settle. Not many of you know, I had a teacher who made my high school career 10 times more difficult than it needed to be. My point is, no matter your background or who you stand with, who you identify as, who you love in this world, you deserve respect. Don't let the adults in the world tell you they're doing everything they can to do their, like, This is not the story that represents Attleboro High School. The story that would represent the school the best is that every year, except this one, my teacher, my criminal justice teacher, came and stood here and watched me speak. Teachers in the building are there for students no matter what. I remember one day I had really bad allergies. My teacher gave me a piece of gum with a sticky note on it and said, "I don't know if you're crying or having really bad allergies. Let me know if you're okay." To me, it was the funniest thing in the world, but I knew I could always go for her for help. A lot of teachers in the building have the upside down triangle that says safe space. To me, that is always such a great place. A lot of teachers in the building are super kind. There's always that shoulder in the bathroom to cry on. High school will never be the best years of your life, but it is the years you find who you are, and as my friends say, grow a backbone. You learn to stand taller, stand up for what you believe in, and learn nothing is permanent. My last pieces of advice are people will always remember how you treat them. And as I said to my sophomore friends, aim to be valedictorian, don't just aim to graduate. I quote myself to wrap this up. Every day in school we stand and say Pledge of Allegiance. The last lines of the pledge is with liberty and justice for all. This is the most important line of the pledge. So I hope that the one thing you take from the speech is that the line, with liberty and justice for all. Happy Pride!
Thank you, Alex. And I would like to thank everyone for coming today. Thank you so much for staying and listening, and thank you to all of our speakers. We're going to have the flag raising and then the march down to the park, so please join us for the vendor fair. And again, thank you all so much for coming.
And time goes by so slowly, and time can do so much. Are you still mine? I can't quite hit that one. Oh, I need your love. I need your love. Godspeed your love to me. Never try that high note again.